Hey everybody, Forbidden Exile here, and welcome to a new video. So, cast on crit Forbidden Rite in 3.23 is definitely viable, as you saw there at the beginning. Deathless Elderslayers, somewhat decently rolled. It's kind of how I like to test builds, some of the Maven invitations. The bosses in the game, I mean, they're difficult, obviously, for like newer players and stuff, but once you learn the mechanics of them, they're relatively easy. When you're trying to fight 4 of them, or 5 of them in like the Feared or something like that, then it gets super difficult. But anyways, it is definitely viable. No enchants. We lost those with 3.23, which kind of sucked. So I had to rework the tree just a little bit and switch out some gear to make it viable so that you can sustain mana. I will be putting out a non-mage blood version that I did a few leagues ago on a Pathfinder just for Flasks sustain and stuff like that. So if you want to see that, please consider subscribing. But we'll get right into it. We'll go over the gear, the gems, the skill tree. I won't skip the Ascendancies. I forgot the Ascendancies on that tornado shot build. And then we'll pull up Path of Building. All right, so for the gear, Imperial Skiing, highest attacks per second, base attacks per second. Try to get one of Fractured Global Crit Strike Multiplier or Fractured Level 1 Chaos Spell Skill Gems. There's basically 2 different ways you can craft this. I generally like to get the level of all chaos spell skill gems fractured. They're a lot more expensive. It just makes the crafting process easier. It's a regular Crown of the Inner Eye, obviously no more enchant for the additional projectile. Perfectly rolled 21%. Aegis Aurora plus 2 level of socketed AoE gems is nice. Try to, if you have the currency, go for double corrupted one. This one's perfectly rolled with the increased armor and energy shield. And then obviously I don't care about elemental damage with attack skills. We'll go over the jewelry first. So for the ring, it's not the best rolled ring. I literally just took an Eyelight ring through a Hunter Exalted Orb on it to make it Hunter influenced, and then I just Chaos Spanned or Reforged Caster until you get Curse Enemies with Despair on hit. The life sucks, I could probably remake it, but the build works just fine. And then you do the Fertile Catalyst to get it up to 15%, so you only need 15, and then do non-channeling skills, have negative mana cost, and that will let you get to 8 as opposed to 7. Onslaught on hit, Synthesized Ring. This one helps your damage significantly to give you that permanent onslaught, which increases your attack speed by 20%. For this one, I just used Dexterity Essences because I needed more Dexterity. And then I got Strength, which I also needed that as well. I got lucky, got T1 attack speed. I should reforge and hit it with a Veiled Chaos Orb because those prefixes are pretty atrocious, but same thing with the Catalyst, 15%, and then get you to -8. For the amulet, there are a lot of cool amulets, there's that which was taken, I think is what's called they're relatively cheap. You could go for one, that has like crit multi or crit chance or something like that if you would like. Double +1 is always great as well. You could try to get the +1 of all skill gems fractured and then craft it that way. It's way easier. For that one, I'll put a video on how to I can't figure how to do that up there. Honestly, I think I just hit this with a bunch of different essences until I got +1 all. And then I got lucky, I had an open prefix. And then, got some intelligence, some attributes. The life per enemy hit obviously doesn't matter, but an extra 2 levels helps. And then for the Catalyst, same thing, 15%. And then Anoint Charisma for more mana reservation efficiency, because mana reservation is pretty rough since it's really hard to get everything down to 0 mana now. Alright, so for the body armor, Grasping Nail, Fracture Global Defenses. If you can afford a Mage Blood, you should be able to afford this. They are pretty expensive, but, the Global Defenses just helps a lot with Energy Shield and Armor, because your armor, not armor stacking technically, but you do have a lot of armor. Deafening Essence of Loathing to get the increased mana reservation efficiency on there. I honestly was just looking for that and high increased armor and Energy Shield. Obviously the life regen sucks. Free res is nice as well. And then for the implicits, Determination or Discipline, whichever one you roll, or whichever one you see first, honestly, take that one. Increased effect of non-curse auras helps with Period of Ice to get you as close to 90% all res as possible, which we'll get into that later. For the gloves, I tried, quasi-magic find, just as much, increased rarity as I can on the build, just kind of help. There are other ways to make these gloves, basically the same gloves, just without the fractured rarity. They're pretty great though. The +2 level of Socket AoE Gem Unveil is pretty rough to get. Craft damage while leeching, use Deafening Essences of Zeal to basically make the gloves, and then, get whatever suffixes you need, and then try to get the +2 socketed AoE gems if you can. It's a pain. And then for the implicits, increase effect of your marks, and then chance to unnerve because it causes enemies to take 10% increased spell damage. It's a Mage Blood. Is what it is, right? For the boots, same boots for all cast on crit builds. Elevated Shaper cooldown, elevated Hunter Tailwind. This is what it is. You know, I could put a video on how to craft those as well. It's pretty simple though. You just elevate 2 pairs of boots and then hit them with an Awakener's Orb. Try to get him on Sorcerer Boot, something with high energy shield. Obviously I didn't get a energy shield roll on there. I could try and Exalt Slam some energy shield on there, and then I could reforge the movement speed because I already have Onslaught. For the Flask, Dying Sun, just 2 additional projectiles help a lot. It's a significant amount of damage actually, and use when charges reach full since you're not gaining flask charges on any of your other flasks. Since you have Mage Blood, this one is always going off. It's the only one that will gain charges. Diamond Flask with everything's going to be obviously the increased effect implicit, and then increased effect prefix. Chance to avoid being stunned. You get stunned while you're cycloning, you will die. Increased effect, reduce mana cost of skills. That one is from Unveiling Cinder Swallows by some veiled, not unveiled, but veiled Cinder Swallows. Unveil a couple of them and you should be able to get that, unlock that, and then you can craft that on there. For this one, just a double armor, Granite Flask, increased effect, and then a double elemental resistance bismuth flask. Perfectly rolled. I don't technically need it perfectly rolled. Obviously, I'm pretty low on fire res, but as I said, this one's going off all the time, so I'm at 84% all res. As far as gems go, so Assassin's Mark, linked to mark on hit, and then just Withering Step in here. I got it on the space bar. I'll go over kind of how to play the build later. Culling Strike, linked to level 5 Wicked Cast on Crit with Vengeance and Purifying Flame. And over here you got Period of Ice. Try to get a level 21. You want to get it as high of a level as possible. Link to a level 3 Enlighten. You don't need a level 4. You do need 1 level 4, but you can do a level 4 and a level 3. And then Tempest Shield just to make you shock immune. And then chance to block spell damage as well. For the actual cast on crit Forbidden Rite, you're going to do a level 20 Cyclone. You can do 21 if you want. 21-20 Forbidden Rite. Increase critical damage to give you more crit multi. And then level 6 cast on crit. And then critical strike support. You do need this to get to 100% crit chance. The way that I'm running the build, there are other ways to do it that you can technically get up to 100% with large cluster jewels, medium cluster jewels, or whatever. And then Awakened Void Manipulation gives you an extra level, more chaos damage, increased chaos damage. Over here we got a Zealotry linked to a level 4 Enlighten with Determination, and then Vow Discipline. You want to get a 20-20 or 21-20 if you can afford it, Vow Discipline, because you don't have a life flask. So your Vow Discipline is your only way to instantly recover life. You're leeching, you're over leeching. I mean, you're always going to be leeching, but there's times, you know, you hit some corrupt or hit some bleeding or something like that because you aren't. This version isn't bleed immune. That's the only way you can recover energy shield. And then over here, just got some utility stuff, right? Flame Dash, Precision, just a level 1 for the Watcher's Eye mod. Flame Dash, and then we got Val Molten Shell here. So I got Molten Shell on the left click, and then I've got Val Molten Shell and Discipline linked to the same button actually, since I'll pretty much always hit them at the same time if I need them. Alright, so just a quick rundown of how the build works before we go over to the skill tree. So how I do it is, as I said, Molten Shell on the left click. If you click left click first, and then you start spinning with right click to do Cyclone, and then if you press spacebar, it will alternate on and off between Withering Step and then Molten Shell, right? So Molten Shell's on, and then Withering Step will be on at the same time for a little bit, and then once Molten Shell kicks on, it'll turn off Withering Step. And as you can see, once Withering Step kicks on, it speeds you up a little bit as well, and it applies Wither to anything that's in this little green like circle that you can see there. You know, you can Flame Dash. Obviously, Withering Step takes away your Flame Dash charges, but you can Flame Dash if you would like. Let's keep that on there. I keep it on the W, you know, whatever button you want to use it. All right, so for the skill tree, we'll just kind of go over this real quick. It'll be in Path of Building. You want to get yourself a large Thread of Hope with -10 all elemental resistances. Take these over here, Light of Divinity, just for more spell damage, critical strike chance, glancing blows, double attack, double spell block. That way you can get spell block and attack block capped. And then take Divine Shield, so you recover energy shield per second from physical damage that is blocked. Obviously take all the power charge nodes because you are power charge stacking. Take all the mana reservation up here. The large cluster jewels. Try to get Touch of Cruelty and Holy Grace and Wicked Paw. It's for chaos damage, hinder, chaos damage, and then chaos damage and attack speed. Up here, spell damage, crit multi,
And then the Watcher's Eye. You don't need one just like this. The Discipline and Precision mod together is pretty expensive. You definitely need the Discipline mod to gain energy shield per enemy hit. You will die if you don't have this. If you're playing this build and you put it all together and you don't have this Watcher's Eye, and you're spinning around and you keep dying, that's probably why. You won't have enough leech or energy shield on hit to sustain really any hit. And then the flash charge, when you deal a critical strike while affected by precision, just helps keep the dying sun up all the time. Come over here, so you're going to need a Militant Faith converted by High Templar Dominus to convert this to Inner Conviction. It actually converts both of them, but I just take this one. 3% or spell damage per power charge, and then you can't gain frenzy charges. So that's it. Take this power charge right here. For the other large cluster jewel, the only one you care about is Mage Hunter to get more spell block chance. You can also gain a power charge when you block as well, but Assassin's Mark will give you power charges, and then you get increased spell damage as well. But you need this one in order to get spell block capped. And then Essence Rush is nice, damage while leeching energy shield, spell damage leeches energy shield, attack and cast speed while leeching energy shield. And then over here, just a Corrupted Blood, and then some more spell and attack block chance, and then just some res on there. So 4 mana to be able to use all of these auras, right? So you've got Pure Device, Zealotry, Discipline, level 1 Precision, Tempest Shield, and Termination. You're going to need 1 3 cluster small passive, or 1 small cluster with 3 passives with increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. You can take Zealotry, you can take Determination, you could take Pure Device, technically, because you do have a little bit of mana to work with, because that's like 80%, I think, Pure Device. I don't remember what it's called, but you're going to need one of these. It's just, it is what it is, right? There's really none of these auras you can really sacrifice in this build, to me, personally, how I play the build. I come up here, take Whispers of Doom so that you can do Assassin's Mark and Despair. And then come down here and meld into the flesh. So this is a perfectly rolled one. They're pretty expensive. But basically what melding the flesh does is it lowers all your max res by either -4 or -6. And you also lose 70% of all res, which your highest maximum elemental resistance converts it to all of them. So Pure Device gives you +5 to additional max cold res. So that would put you at 80. And then any increased effect of non-curse auras, so like on here and on the tree, I like these ones right here, or this one, and then I think there's a couple of them over here, one, right, so that will get you up to 84%. You used to be able to pretty easily get to 90, obviously they use taking the -4 away, that's pretty hard to get to 90%, but anywhere between 84 and 85 will get you, with Molten Shell, up about a 1 million effective hit pool against non-Uber bosses. And then, as I said, I'm not going to forget the Ascendancies. Profane Bloom, just explode's always nice. Wither in Presence for Wither, Chaos Resistance, which doesn't matter, but Chaos Damage. And then Void Beacon, nearby enemies have negative Chaos Res. And then come over here and another power charge, area effective power charge, damage per power charge. You don't really spend a lot of mana, but you will gain a power charge on that one. Because you're a Chaos Inoculation. Forbidden Rite hits you with Chaos damage. So, let's take Chaos Inoculation. If you're wondering why I only have 1 life and all energy shield, it's because of that. Alright, so for Path of Building, we're looking at about 18 million DPS. It's pretty tanky as well. It's 1.7 million effective hit pool. That is with Molten Shell on. Even without it, you're at 272,000. Still pretty good. It's, as you saw when I was kind of spinning around, it's up pretty frequently. Not all the time, but the majority of the time it is. If you're trying to fight something super tanky, and you gotta like kind of dodge and weave and stuff like that when your Molten Shell turns off, because it's pretty visible, but when it's not on, and maybe just move out of the way for a second. 3,700 energy shield, it's not great. Getting closer to like 5,000 will definitely increase the survivability of this build, because I still do die sometimes. But yeah, that's it. Go over the configuration. You can kind of see how that's set up. You are should always be on full energy shield or you're gonna die. You're using power charges, you have onslaught, you're leeching energy shield. This one actually doesn't matter because this is the one that matters because of the essence rush. That's just for the Pantheons. Crit recently, hit recently. You're channeling Cyclone, all that does is let you know what your movement speed modifier is really. Withered stacks, you should be able to get to 15 withered stacks. The enemy is shocked because of Tempest Shield, and then you are using Unnerve. That's it. Alright, well thanks for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, and as I said, I will be putting out a non-Mage Blood Pathfinder version of the build probably in like the next week. So if you are interested in seeing that, please consider subscribing, because it really does help me out.